Anything in here we have investigated. Don't ever touch anything. And if you do, let me know. This is the worst thing in here. It's that doll. I'm not gonna stare at it though. So you can take the picture, but I'm not gonna stare at it because that has done bad harm on a lot of people. You have to conjure the spirits in order to get them. You know, you're not going to get them by just walking around here.
And that's the one that's sort of depicted a little bit in this movie, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
That's the Annabelle doll. Yes.
True story of Annabelle began in 1970 when a 28-year-old nurse named Donna received the Raggedy Ann doll as a birthday gift from her mom, which later became known as Annabelle. She put the rag doll on her bed and she began to notice it change positions on its own. A leg would be crossed or the doll would be laying on its side. Then the girl and her roommate began to find parchment paper on the floor with written messages such as "Help me, help us." They had no parchment paper in the house. The doll then began appearing in different rooms and at one point appeared to be leaking blood. Then one day a male friend named Lou was taking a nap at their house and woke up with the doll staring at him. He felt as if he was being strangled. There was deep scratch wounds on his upper body that were found later that day. The girls first thought maybe an intruder was moving the doll around and leaving notes. When they ruled that out according to the Occult Museum website, not knowing where to turn, they contacted a medium and a séance was held. The girls were introduced to the spirit of Annabelle Higgins. She was said to be a young girl that resides on the property before the apartments were built and died there at age 7. Supposedly Annabelle died in a car accident not far from where the apartments were. The spirit Annabelle told the medium she felt comfort with the two roommates in the apartment and wanted to stay with them and be loved. The roommates gave Annabelle permission to inhabit the doll, but then things got worse. Lou hated the doll and tried to explain to the girls it was evil, but they did not believe him. LOL started having bad dreams. Dreams where Annabelle would be in his bed climbing up his legs as he would lay frozen, not being able to move, sliding up his chest and choking him out. He would wake up terrified with his head pounding like all blood has been cut off to his brain. A few days later, him and Donna's roommate Angie were planning a trip when they heard someone moving in Donna's room. They froze and thought the apartment was broken into. Lou went toward the room, listening to everything rustle around inside, and flung the door open to see everything intact where it should be, except Annabelle was off the bed sitting in the corner. As he approached the doll, Lou was consumed with the feeling of burning on the back of his neck. He felt a sudden pain on his chest and he was left with claw marks down his chest. The claw marks has begun healing almost immediately. They were completely gone within 2 days. No one had ever seen anything like it before. They turned to a priest who called in the Warrens. The Warrens were interested in the case and came out almost immediately. They came to the conclusion that there was no ghost in this case. It was an inhuman spirit, a demon, that was attached to the doll. But the Warrens warned them that the doll wasn't possessed. Demons don't possess things. They only possess people. The spirit was clinging to the doll, manipulating it in order to give the impression of a haunting. The demon's target was really to get Donna's soul.
What's this?
A priest performed an exorcism on the apartment and the Warrens took possession of the doll. They put it in a bag and began their long drive home. Ed agreed to stay off the highways because there was a concern that the demon might mess with the car. On their drive back the back roads, the engine kept cutting out along with the power steering kept failing, and even the brakes were giving them trouble. Ed opened the bag on the way home and sprinkled the doll with holy water, and the disturbances stopped until they got home. Ed left the doll next to his desk and it began levitating. It happened a couple times, then it seemed to just quit. But in a couple of weeks Annabelle was back to her old self and was moving from room to room in their house. The Warrens called in a priest to exorcise Annabelle. The priest didn't take it serious and told Annabelle she was just a doll and can't hurt anyone, and on his way back home he crashed his car. As of this day, Annabelle lives in her box at the Warrens Occult Museum in their home, still being haunted till this day alongside of all the Warrens' other haunting trophies.
Okay. Okay. Quickly. Right over here. Go into the new case. Got that last sign there too. Yeah, we'll lock it up later. Make sure to close.
Yeah. Take it, hold my glove.
Yeah. Yep. Now, this doll, ladies and gentlemen, is never going to leave that case again. This is the case that'll stay here in the museum, and when we transport it to the banquet facility, it'll be in the case. It'll never leave that case. That was the only time we're going to touch that doll from now until, hopefully, forever.